Hey guys, what's going on? It's Galeriot here, back again on the 5-9 channel, and today we're going to be talking about our most anticipated gacha games of 2021. And today with me I have our resident gacha expert as per usual. Say hello, Nolar.
Hey guys, this is gonna be interesting because it's the beginning of 2021 and we have a pretty decent outlook, but you never know what's coming out on the horizon.
Of course. Last year was pretty solid, if I do say so myself. Of course, Alice's global launch, Genshin Impact, some big titles coming out from last year. Obviously, CL7 Deadly Sins Global Grand Cross is released as well. Arknights, of course. Yeah, I keep forgetting Arknights was last year. I keep thinking it was 2019. But it was sort of like the end of 2019, beginning 2020. So some big names coming out from last year. But we look forward on to seeing what we can get from next, or this year, I should say. Keep forgetting it's already 2021. But yeah, we're gonna look at what we're gonna be getting from this year's roster. Of course, we're gonna start off with the big Mac Daddy. Of course, probably the biggest IP on this list, and probably the biggest IP in general, and the most expectations from this IP, and that's Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba Keppu Kengeki Royale. Of course, this game was delayed from last year to this year. Of course, they citing improvements needed to be made in terms of quality and making sure that the game was ready to be launched this year. We do not know of a concise date for this year either, unfortunately. Last year we didn't have a date either. We just had a lot of V-jump scans and whatnot. But of course, expectations are very high from this. Of course, we do not know the developer per se, but we do know that it is a subsidiary of Aniplex that is doing this. So, any thoughts, Nolar? Before we talk about it more?
Yeah, so officially the developer is Quattro A, which is a subsidiary of Aniplex, and Aniplex is the publisher, so it's kind of vertically integrated where the devs are owned by the publisher, so it'll be pretty smooth in that transition. But honestly, we haven't heard much at all. I echo your sentiments that Demon Slayer is literally the biggest IP right now. I think the movie made over the third highest anime movie in Japan overall.
No, it's the third highest anime film of all time across the world, and it's the highest grossing film of all time in Japan.
Yeah, okay, there we go. So look, it's even bigger than I was thinking in my head. So look, all eyes are on this. The manga's done, right? If I remember.
The manga finished, I think, sometime in May or June. I think it was May. I want to say May.
So everyone's hungry for more anything related to Demon Slayer, and they need to hit this out of the park from the get-go. So they're good at saying, look, we need some time. We need to polish this up a little bit. I'm happier that they take time and do that instead of rush out something where they just fall flat on their face. And
Cyberpunk 2077. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry. I would rather have them, take their time to polish it up. There's no timeline at all, right? So it could be, they say 2021, it could be January of 2021 or December 15th of 2021. You just don't know. So I'm looking forward to it. Demon Slayer is very good. I've just seen the anime. I need to read the manga, but it's pretty good so far, and I have some hope, and we'll just have to wait and see till we get more information.
Yep. Like you mentioned, it is probably one of the biggest IPs on this list, of course. And on top of that, of course, like you said as well, the lack of Demon Slayer is eating at people. So getting something new will be exciting, and that's another thing. And I'm gonna hark back to Cyberpunk 2077 here. I'm kind of happy that they don't have a release date, because it just gives them any duration of time to work on it, right?
Yes.
Rather than have to reach a deadline or something. So obviously they have internal deadlines, I'd assume, but in terms of publishing it outright, we don't have a set date, we can do it end of 2021 like you said, or beginning of 2021. So either or, hey, they have time, let them take time. We don't want a buggy mess or any issues with the game itself at launch, right?
Yes,
Moving on to the next game of 2021 that we are looking forward to the most, of course, is another huge IP. Of course, this one more so in the West than in Japan itself, in my personal opinion, of course, if I compare to Demon Slayer at least. And that is My Hero Academia's Ultra Impact. What do you think the impact of this game will be? Pun intended, by the way.
So as far as I remember, it had a beta, right, in Japan? And
yes.
Hydros, who's part of 5-9, and yourself, you guys covered it on the 5-9 channel. We have some videos for that. It looks pretty good so far. The art could be cleaned up a little bit, at least that's just my opinion. But when it comes to pretty much turn-based combat in that regard, can't go wrong. You know, every gacha I can think of at least starts off that way, and you know, especially with mobile games where you could just click something, walk away, come back, or do 5 minutes and then come back later. That's the best way to go. So My Hero Academia, I think since there was Smash Tap and Smash Rising or whatever those were flamed out. So we've been missing a MHA gacha, one that people can sink their teeth into and really get the game going for a while. So a lot of people are anticipating this, so we're just waiting with bated breath.
Like Nolar mentioned, you know, Hydros and I did cover some of it. Of course, Hydros was the one who had access to the beta. I was just a viewer most of the time and having a look-see on how the gameplay was, how the mechanics of the game were, you know, the characters, how you bought stuff and whatnot, the currency, the gacha system, whatnot. Like Nolar said, it does require a bit of polishing in terms of the art, I feel, definitely, as well as just how the characters moved and the models itself. But like he mentioned as well, you know, having it as a turn-based game, you know, it looks super casual, very pick up and play. You know, there's no difficult like moves in it or something. It's just like a couple of buttons to you touch and press while in the game itself or while fighting enemies, and or you can just press the auto button. It has a, you know, speed up button and everything. So again, for me personally, as somebody who's a bigger fan of pick up and play games than other games such as, you know, SDS Grand Cross and stuff, I'm kind of happy that they're going that route. Hopefully it impresses people as well. You know, it's why I say, you know, games like Dokkan and FGO do so well is because of how casual it is, or how pick up and play it is. So definitely, hopefully this goes well, and hopefully you guys enjoy this MHA game, because I do know, like I said, MHA is very, very popular in the West because of the whole superhero themes and whatnot, so hopefully it does well. We move on to the third game on our list this time round, and this one is already existing and has existed on the JP side for 3 years. It is Princess Connect's Princess Connect Redive's global launch, which we are estimating to be sometime in early 2021. We have had news that it's gaining a quote-unquote HoloLive collab. We don't know the full extent of it. We do know that the HoloLive VTubers, or the HoloLive EN VTubers, not the JP VTubers, are going to be doing special live streams for it, streaming the launch of the game live, and so on and so forth. And that has generated a lot of hype for the game itself, and a lot of people are interested in it now. What are your thoughts on this one, Nolar?
Well, so since it's soft launched, I've actually started playing it, and you have as well. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. It's again a very casual game. Right now with soft launch, there's no events going on. It's just, hey, check out the game, see if you like it. And so far, I'm enjoying it quite a bit. It's an original IP, so that in itself is gonna be very difficult to sell to people. But with the HoloLive collab, that's the same target demographic, so I think that's a very good move on Crunchyroll's part, and in terms of marrying the collab of HoloLive, and at least the English side, plus the launch of Princess Connect Redive, it's gonna be pretty good. I'm looking forward to it. It's like, again, it's pretty fun for me so far, so let's just see how it plays out.
For sure, for sure. Like you mentioned, it's super pick up and play, like, you know, and for me, as I said, I enjoy that sort of game. And yeah, technically it did launch in 2020, but its official launch is in 2021, so we'll let it slide.
Yep.
We move on to another global launch, and this one is a bit of a tricky one. The IP is good enough to sell it immediately. You know, it's probably one of the most popular IPs out there, especially for the isekai genre. And yet the publisher is going to hold its popularity back, and that is Konosuba Fantastic Days global launch. Of course, we do know that the publisher is Nexon, and that is cause for concern. Nolar, you want to add on anything on top of that?
Yeah, we did a video on this, discussing the history of Nexon and why people are very wary of it. Just to recap it for you guys, they tend to take as a publisher, they tend to take a game that's developed by someone else and change the format on a global side between the JP, Korean servers, and usually not for the best. And consequently, the player base aren't happy, they end up quitting, the game shuts down within 6 months to a year. There's lots of examples of that happening. The biggest one right now is Overhit has shut down. It launched about a year, maybe a little longer than a year, maybe like a year and a half at that point. But that is not a good look. And Nexon, people know the name, and people say, no thanks, I'm not going to play. And that's unfortunate because I don't know much about Konosuba, but from what I've seen, it looks like a fun game too. But if people are turned away at the get-go because of Nexon, that's just unfortunate.
Yeah, again, like I said, it's gonna have the hype, I feel. Still, the name is going to help carry it a bit, but again, like you said, it's Nexon. It's gonna be hard to get people in it. A lot of existing gacha players who've had the experience of playing a Nexon game, or have had experience of just any gacha game, and have compared publishers, and obviously Nexon's name would usually come up. It's not always been good. Always, a lot of whales and existing gacha players have always seen a Nexon game and have said kind of no thanks. But hopefully Konosuba, again, like we mentioned in that previous video that we did with Konosuba, is that Nexon just take it as a bit of just a localization job and don't touch anything, and keep it the same, like prices, gacha rates, everything from the JP version over onto the global version. But again, that's out of our control. We'll have to just wait and see pretty much, right?
Yep.
We move on to the fifth game, and this one was, I think, supposed to release in 2020, but it got delayed to February 2021 instead. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nolar, on this one, and that is Nier Reincarnation. Of course, this one I'm not too covered up on or too keyed up on in terms of what the gameplay is like. I have not seen any trailers. I'm gonna go into it completely blind personally, but of course it's the Nier franchise, a very, very popular franchise in itself. Of course, you've seen it in Sino Alice as one of the collabs for it. It's got an amazing franchise in Nier Replicant as well as Nier Automata. So getting a mobile game is going to be very, very exciting, to say the least, for a lot of people, as well as just the general fan base of Nier as well. So what do you think about this one, Nolar? I think you've seen a lot more than I have, so you might be able to clue in people a bit more than I can.
Yeah, so this is strictly a JP launch, which doesn't bother me too much, but the gameplay is going to be interesting because it's using kind of like your ATB system in like Final Fantasy and whatnot, where it's going to do auto, like, normal attacks, and then as the skill counters count down, that's when you can justify and utilize your skills, whatnot. So in a way it looks turn-based, but it's really not turn-based, if that makes sense. And of course, what makes this so interesting is that Yoko Taro is also writing the story and headlining the production of this. So it is pretty much a continuation of Nier Automata and Reincarnation, or Replicant. So Reincarnation is going to be very interesting in the sense that it's going to be the gacha version of that franchise. So everyone's super stoked because the soundtrack is always good. Like, everyone praises Nier Automata's soundtrack, and that continues here. I don't know if it's the exact same composer, but the overall, at least from the music I've heard, sounds very similar. It's got different gameplay styles, which is again very similar to the Nier franchise, because you'll get like a ship shooter system and then a 3D ARPG. So here you get the turn-based system, but you get like a side-scrolling like Western thing going. So from what I've seen, it looks great, and we're all kind of excited to play it. And we were a little upset that it was supposed to come out in 2020, no word, and officially delayed. But hey, if they delay it to make it a better game, you'll have no qualms from me, and shouldn't be the case with anybody else. But it's going to be interesting. So we're going to be looking out. I think you said February. I'm just trying to confirm that, but it's definitely coming out early of 2021 because it was supposed to come out at the end of 2020. So
yeah, I think I last checked a Q app, and that's where I think it said it was in February. I could stand corrected on that one, of course. But we move on to the next one, which again, we don't know much about. It only just came out a couple of days ago. Not even a couple of days ago. I want to say a couple of weeks ago. I'd say 1 or 2 weeks ago, realistically, at the time of recording, of course. And that is Jojo's Golden Anthem. Now, this is a Jojo's gacha game. Of course, people have been crying and clawing for a new JoJo's gacha game. Of course, there's Pitter Patter Pop and Stardust Shooters, which are JP only games However, this is a bit more interesting. This is a game that's being made by K-Lab, of course, developers of Bleach Brave Souls. I almost forgot. I don't know why. Bleach Brave Souls, or BBS. And it is only going to have a China launch at the start, but there are, they have made logos for both the JP version as well as the English version of the game, or just typing Jojo's in English and JP specifically, the subtitle isn't in English or JP yet, leading to some thoughts and assumptions that maybe down the line they could release it in globally as well. This is massive in my opinion, because this is probably the first proper JoJo's gacha to obviously have a global impact. It's made by a very well-known dev. Of course, Bleach Brave Souls has been doing relatively well over the last couple of years. It's not been like, it's not hitting any peaks or anything, but it's consistently doing well, improving some things from what I hear from time to time. And so I have good faith in this game. What about you, Nolar? What do you think about the launch of this game, or this apparent release this year?
Yeah, it was just an announcement that they were going to do this. And so, again, Jojo is a huge IP. Lots of people know it. Lots of people love it. I personally am still stuck on Season 1. Don't know if I'll get out of Season 1. But everyone's wanting one. And when there's an IP that people are clawing for, they'll gravitate towards it. So you've got a hot item, and you've got a pretty good developer in K-Lab. I mean, I don't play Bleach Brave Souls. I've tried it a few times. It's well developed. I mean, it's been in going on its 5th year, 6th year, something like that. So
it's as old as Dokkan, I think, at this point.
So yeah, if you've got a game that lasts that long, the devs are doing something right? So that's where I say, look, JoJo's Golden Anthem, we've got something to look forward to. Again, very sparse information. It's just an announcement, but that alone got everyone up in a feeding frenzy. And again, it's only a China release, as they announced, but knowing K-Lab, they could look for a English publisher and hopefully get that out within the year or the next year, or whenever they feel it's necessary for their company to do. So I'm pretty excited for it, and I'm sure a lot of people are looking forward to it.
For sure. Again, like, JoJo's is a huge IP, so I'm definitely looking forward to it myself. Like Nolar, I'm only stuck on, I think I finished off part 2. I wasn't very impressed with part 1 or part 2, but knowing the comment section, like my own stream chat, they'll probably say, oh, go watch part 3 and 4 and 5, and yes, I will inevitably do that before the game launches. We move on to the next one. It is Dr. Stone's gacha game. We have literally, apart from the developer, no information about it. Quite literally, we just got an announcement sometime last month, and while it's amazing to get an announcement for this IP, it's very popular, struck popularity back in 2019 with its first season. It's getting its second season. Well, at the time of recording this, as well at the time of this going up, it probably is already airing its second season. It's supposed to drop on January 14th. But again, like Konosuba in some fashion, the dev of this game isn't really well known, I should say. Their backlog of games isn't very awe-inspiring. They don't have any major title or any just decent title that is known about or anything of that sort. So there are obviously concerns about this, but the anticipation is quite high for the fact that we're getting a Dr. Stone gacha game. Anyways, what are your thoughts on this one, Nolar?
So I'm also starting the series. I'm on episode 4, and when I said they're gonna do a gacha game, I put out a tweet saying are there enough units or characters to even make a full game? And then of course I got bombarded watch the rest of the anime. Of course there is. And yeah, now I understand it now. Like you, this is just all we heard was we're getting an announcement for a game with the developer announced, and the developer isn't anything to write home about. I mean, there's no, I'm not saying they're bad, but there's nothing notable there, which gives people some concern. But at the same time, maybe they just didn't get the right opportunity with the right IP to showcase their skills, and maybe this is the point where the developers will be like, we're really good. This is where we are. So just cautious optimism is the best way I could put it, because we don't have much information. We don't even know what kind of game is it. It's going to be a hero collector, but is it going to be turn-based? Is it going to be an action RPG? Is it going to be a city builder? Right? Because as far as I know, the city building aspect of Dr. Stone would be pretty cool to play with, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So we have no concept of what type of game this is, what we can critique about it. The only thing we know is the developer, and again, nothing to write home about, but maybe that's just because they didn't get the Dr. Stone IP till now, right? So
yeah, I mean, no, we have to give credit where it's due. You have to remember that not a lot of devs have the credit they deserve. Akatsuki, I don't know any of their games outside of Dokkan. Same thing with games, Delightworks as well. Arguably, they've done FGO, and look at how that's booming. So again, we can't just immediately pinpoint saying like, oh, the dev's going to be bad. We just don't know anything about them, so it's kind of hard to judge like how the game is going to be. Is it in good hands or not? It's the same situation as the Demon Slayer one, arguably, as well. We don't know much. Obviously, at least the Demon Slayer one has Aniplex above it to kind of be like, okay, they know what to expect from, say, like an FGO or something, so they know like what expectations to have of the dev to build that Demon Slayer game. Here we don't know that it's gonna have the same publisher, the same degree of a publisher, I should say, and so on. So it's gonna be a bit tricky to see where this Dr. Stone game is going to land, in my opinion. Now, this next game, I personally have seen very little of, but I have been hearing about it mumbling here and there. I know it had a China launch, I think, very recently, but I've heard very, very little about it. And this is another popular IP coming in from 2019, early 2019. They had their first anime season. They're going to be having their second season sometime this year. I don't remember which part of this year, but I know it's this year. And that's Rising of Shield Hero Re-Rise. This is a gacha game that's supposed to be coming out sometime this year in Japan. So obviously, for me personally, as I said, I have very little knowledge about this game in terms of what it is, what's in the game itself, and whatnot. But I do know that it is, of course, a gacha game at the end of the day, and of course, it's a huge IP. What are your thoughts on this one, Nolar?
So I don't know anything about the IP. But the thing is, in the gacha circles, everyone's talking about this. So it's a huge hot IP, but everyone is saying like, okay, cool, we're gonna get a new game. Let's all check it out. Right now, it seems like it's a Chinese exclusive, as far as I could tell. But yeah, I personally don't know too much. But again, when the gacha circles that I walk around in, everyone's talking about it. So it's obviously gonna be something to look out for this coming year.
Alright, I could stand corrected, by the way. I was confusing Re-Rise with some other gacha, I think. I think there's two. There's one that's a Chinese exclusive, and Re-Rise is its own thing.
Oh, maybe that's what it is. Okay.
So maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's my fault and I stand corrected on that. But either way, again, I have no knowledge on who's developing the game or anything. I'm going in completely blind with this one as well still. It's going to be very interesting because, as I said, I've personally obviously read the light novels up until the latest light novel that's translated in English. I've read the IP or watched the IP live when it aired in 2019. I'm very much looking forward to this. I'm a huge fan of the show, huge fan of the series, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the gameplay style is going to be like as well. Of course, they're now I think they're just doing their pre-registration stuff. I think it's like via Twitter/Line, which is the JP version. So yeah, no, it's going to be very, very interesting to say the least. And yeah, that's from us regarding Rising of the Shield Hero, the final game. And this is another Psy Games title on this list, and that is World Flipper's global launch. Now, I know this, I've been hearing about World Flipper for the longest because of the fact that it's a pinball gacha game, which is so confusing to me. Nolar, do you have any information about this one? Because I think you've played this one, right?
I played the JP one fairly, I wouldn't say like deep, but just overview. It's pretty good. It's a lot of fun, in all honesty. And okay, we covered the Disney Star Smash, I think that's what it was, or Star Rising, or whatever it was. It's same kind of concept where you got a pinball. Whatever units you have, they have special powers. There's a chain system you want to do. It's like very weird to describe to people because they're like, it's a pinball, how do you make that a gacha? And they managed to do it, and they do it well. Now, the downside to World Flipper is that Psy Games had a lot of controversies on their hand, and it kind of drove away some of their player base when it launched a year ago. So, they released the unit was too strong, they nerfed it immediately. Didn't sit well with a lot of people because, developers can do whatever they want, but if you're asking for money for a unit and then nerf them, well, then you expect some refunds, I guess. So look, it's a very fun experience from what I remember, and if they learn from what they did in the JP side, I think it'll be a pretty smooth launch and people will enjoy it. But there's no real clue as to when it's going to launch. So if anything, I would pin my hopes on the latter half of 2021 as opposed to the first half. But yeah, there's a lot of things that need to be people need to take a look for, because at Pinball Gacha, it seems weird, but it works, man. It works.
Yeah. No, for sure. All right. Before we wrap up, I actually have one more honorary mention that isn't part of this list and hasn't been confirmed yet, but I'm hoping personally to come out. And Nolar doesn't know about this because I didn't put it in the list. But that is ReZero's Lost in Memories. It's just come out in JP, I think, a couple of months ago, and I'm hoping it gets a 2021 global launch, because from what I've been hearing and based on both QApp and Twitter, it's very, very good. It's like, from what I've heard, is like it's very, following the anime really well. It allows you to make multiple choices, take routes depending on the decisions you make actually in the game. So I think that's the first time I've seen it in a gacha game where your decisions actually matter in the story itself. So, hey, if that's the thing that's gonna happen in game, I'll take it, and I'm looking forward to it. I hope it does get an announcement in 2021. Again, it's only JP exclusive, so who knows? What do you think about that, by the way, Nolar? Do you think it's cool that they're allowing you to they're basically pulling off these multiple choice games, like the Telltale games, stuff like that, into a gacha game? Do you think that's a cool concept?
It absolutely is, because right now, like we said, like I mentioned, JP's gacha market is so saturated. You need something to differentiate yourselves from the pack. And if your thing is multiple playthroughs with different accounts, because you want to play through the whole story, because you took the right path and you can't take the left one, so you got to restart again. However they play it, I mean, that's a cool concept to me. Whether or not that actually works, we'll find out. But so far, people are very in love with ReZero Lost in Memories. I remember when that game launched on JP, everyone's like, hey, you gonna play this? I'm like, I play enough JP games as is, man.
Yeah, it was the same situation for me, because I was like, I don't want to play another JP gacha game. Let me be, please. And I think it was also just as Genshin was about to drop, so I was already trying to work around like building that sort of like, figuring out what I need for that and stuff like that. So I was like, all right, you know what? I'll come back to you at a later date.
And right now, there's a chance that it comes to global, because there's a lot of, when a game like ReZero gets good reception in JP, automatically think that they want to expand and release it globally. So there's a shot, because it's got good reception. So I don't know if it's coming in 2021, but it's a possibility.
Yeah, it's sort of an honorary mention. We don't know if it's exactly going to be coming in 2021. I just slid it in there for no apparent reason, just to kind of say, like, if there's one game I want that's not got an announcement, it's probably this one. It features a basic turn-based combat system, so nothing too interesting about that, but I'm more interested in the story mode, not gonna lie. But yeah, either way, that's I think that's all from our anticipated games, or top anticipated games of 2021, with an honorary mention. What do you think, Nolar? How do you feel about this list so far?
Look, some of these are like surefire to be big hits out the get-go, and some of them have a chance to grow into that kind of stature. So look, there's enough diverse gameplay, diverse IPs, where you could play multiple of these, and I've done those many times. Whether that's going to happen now, who knows? But there's a lot of options here for you guys to choose from. Hopefully you'll find something you enjoy. And again, be responsible with the money, guys. Not everything is worth buying in the gacha game. I know that much.
All right. But yeah, no, I agree with Nolar, what he said as well. A lot of these have massive, backings to them, honestly. Demon Slayer, Ameche, they are surefire hits, but some of them, they can grow into it, but, even some of them, Konosuba, of course, with Nexon, has the potential to, unfortunately not make it at all because of bad decisions. So yeah, let us know in the comment section down below, what is your most anticipated game of 2021? Do you have any other names that we may have forgotten? Let us know. But yeah, leave a like and subscribe. Of course, our socials will be in the description down below. It's been Gale and Nolar signing off on this video. We'll see you guys next time.
See ya.